Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Quick disclaimer, this is a reread for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as we prepare for the book Onyx Storm. Spoilers ahead. She threatens to unfall in love with him if she doesn't get the full and total honesty.
And he calls her out immediately he's like, yeah, good fucking luck. I tried to get you to do that. That's my favorite part. She's like, I'll fall out of love as easy as I fell into it. He's like, no, you fucking won't.
Yeah, he often tells her, like, you love me.
Yeah, and then he immediately gets insecure whenever she isn't actively telling him that she's going to fall out of love. But he's like, this woman used to be mine. Could be mine, will be mine, might be mine. Like, he's all over the place. And then when she's actively like, you know what, fuck you, I don't love you anymore. And he's like, you do. His confidence is wild.
But in his head, he's having a complete meltdown. She even threatens to sleep with other men. And he's like, no, you won't. But I know, based off of how the last 3 chapters went in the last book, he is falling apart. Like, she wouldn't really do that, would she? Or the fact that he needed reassurance from Garrick that Liam won't sleep with her.
To be fair, I think she missed a great opportunity, right? Liam would have been such an incredible lover. I'm jealous that I didn't get a chance. You know, all I'm saying is, it should have been Xaden. Now I'm done.
Chapter 3 ends with the death roll being read off. Chapter 4 starts with...
Stop, hold on. You can't skip over the death... Who was on the death roll?
That's what Chapter 4 is going into.
Oh.
They end it in this little way. Chapter 4 starts with their names being read off. And Xaden's like, well, this is awkward. Or maybe that was the end of Chapter 3. Either way.
It's better.
The excerpt for Chapter 4 is dreamless sleep for baby dragons. They go through rapid growth, and the duration varies from breed to breed. The signs were there that she was going to be in this sleep for a very long time.
He gives her a timeline.
Yeah, but it's based off of every other breed other than the one egg that was sitting there for 600 years.
Yeah, it took 600 years for that guy to get incubated. I think it's going to be a hot minute.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not conking out for a couple hours.
They knew something was up. So she realizes her mom had no part in the games. Aetos backed up from Xaden when Xaden is confronting him on all of this. They're having this conversation of what really happened. I found impressive on Xaden's part that he could be that imposing to Aetos and feel threatened that he would back up from Xaden when having this confrontation.
Here's the crazy thing to me. I'm going to just take a moment here. So all of the people that become dragon riders, other than this little sect of the rebellion, as far as Besgaeth is aware of the people whom are alive and are dragon riders, they all stay citizens of Navarre, right? In their mind. They're all, you don't have a dragon rider that's like, cool, I got my fucking dragon, it's year 2, I'm ready to go see the world, right? And they just go Rumspringa style out of that bad boy.
Yeah, not that we've heard of.
Yeah, that is the most unrealistic part of this to me. Second most unrealistic part is, in this moment, if you're Xaden and you know this motherfucker is a problem, right? Daddy Aetos, Dain, all of them. You've got shadows that can just fuck up everybody. Sneak a shadow around that dude's neck and just snap him real quick. He's done. He's out.
I don't think Xaden would risk the lives of all the marked ones for that kill.
Okay, find a sacrificial marked. Violet's having trouble controlling her lightning. I'm doing finger guns for the people who are listening.
I see what you're saying, but I disagree with it in that moment. Also, to your other point of why are there dragon riders that aren't just leaving and doing their own thing because they're like, fuck you.
Are you about to use the Empyrean?
I am not about to use the Empyrean. I'm using the scribes as they manipulate history. And they also didn't document a scenario of a dragon rider burning out. Violet points this out. We hear all about burning out, and how risky that is. And Violet says there's no documented history on this, though. So there could be some runaways. And it's just not documented because they don't want people to think there's something worth running away for.
I mean, wouldn't it be anything but war? Like, anything but what you're doing.
I think if you made it that far, You aren't scared.
Varys' dragon shows up and cooks half of Third Wing.
Because someone ran away. You're going to run away after that?
Well, this is the thing. That's not even it. Those people ran away because Varys' dragon was being a dickhead. And it let them get so far away. It was like, oh, they were basically to the parapet before he cooked them and half of Third Squad. And you're like, oh, those people didn't move. They stood at attention. And I know this is something we're going to address later. I'll wait, because this is the best part of this book today.
Yes.
I'll wait. I'm so sorry.
As of right now,
he's talking to Aetos.
Yep, and Lilith doing that whole thing. They're going in circles. I love how this whole thing went, because I was really questioning, how are they going to spin this in their favor on how this all played out? I was very naive when first going through it and could not piece it together. This played out perfectly. And then it took me by surprise when Aetos was just like, secrets die with those who keep them, or something like that.
This was so serious, though, for two reasons. Who took Violet's side?
Xaden and her mom?
Her mom is the surprising one. Because they're like, oh, Aetos is like, they're lying. And her mom's like, you fucking accuse my daughter of lying? Fuck you. And then she's like, Violet, what happened? Violet says her half-truth thing or whatever. And her mom is like, I believe you. And then her mom fucking demotes Aetos.
I didn't catch that even on this time around. You mentioned this briefly while I was taking notes, and you're like, he got demoted. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think he actually got demoted.
That would make sense. That is a reasonable action to take for that situation, risking the lives of the cadets all for this and then lying.
And Violet has so much faith in her mom after this too, it changes their relationship, at least temporarily, if not through the whole thing. Where Violet had faith prior to this in her mom, so much more than Brennan. And I think this points to how little Brennan knows his mom too, to be honest. Because Brennan's like, Mom will fucking see you murdered if you go back there, blah, blah, blah. And Violet's like, she wouldn't let General fucking Melgren.
That's right. Yeah, she did stand up for, not really stand up for her mom, but just more.
I think she kind of did. She's like, you didn't see her after what happened with Dad and everything. And I think the difference is...
You didn't see her after you died or Dad died?
And she's just like, if General Melgren wanted me, she wouldn't fucking let him do it. And number one, that also speaks to, she knows how fucking powerful her mom.
Yeah.
She's like, Melgren's a badass, but Mom is something else.
As we talked about earlier, her mom can create lightning with a big enough storm. She's going to get her target.
Oh, there's dragons flying. My mom brought hail. Now what? Everybody's fucked.
Sharknado.
That's so perfect. It's just Wyvern NATO. I tornado, they're the Wyvern, they're just getting sucked up in it. Oh man, this would have been so cool. I want a movie that is not true to the source material so I can see a Wyvern NATO. That's it.
Well, they go through all of that. Like you said, Violet shares her side of the story. Her mom believes her, maybe not the details, but believes some shit went down that pisses her off. Xaden to Dain says one word, Athbyne. And others watching are very confused between their interaction that's going on. Violet points out that Dain is almost like a puppy dog. Like, she says something about, why does he look so helpless, sad, pathetic? I don't know the word.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what she called him, but any of those works. Pathetic mostly, I think. She's not having a moment where she sees a sad dog and she's like, how pathetic of that dog. It's more like, he's a pathetic, sad piece of shit. And he should be.
We were talking about Dain in the last chapters about him sending them there and sharing the secret. And I thought that maybe you were being a little hard on Dain because I didn't think Dain really knew the gravity of the situation that he was putting them in, and that his reaction to them coming back would be really telling. I think this is telling us Dain was clueless. I think he thought it was more sending them somewhere to fail the war games rather than sending them there to die.
Yeah, I think you were 100% right about this, because she's like, either Dain's an incredible actor or he really didn't know what was going on. Which I think then too, you could just be pissed at Dain for being a dummy, but she's pretty fucking cold with him in general. She's actively hates him right now, and I think that's fine.
In her world, like,
but why does
she's so lonely.
But you notice that chain of command meant something more when Xaden was wing leader than it does now. everybody's treating Dain like just a piece of shit. And it makes sense for Imogen to be that way a bit, because Imogen has always been sort of abrasive. Violet caring zero about the whole chain of command thing.
Even Rhiannon calls out Dain on some bullshit later when they're getting ready for all the newcomers to come in. She's like, I don't have time for your bullshit right now, Dain.
And this is my thing, is Dain even calls it out where he's like, fuck, I'm losing every argument today.
Yep.
And it's like, well, in fairness, that's not how all the people that are like, oh, this is a military thing. That's why everybody has to die, blah, blah, blah. So it's accurate for military training. What?
Violet?
Can you imagine a group of fucking privates talking to a colonel this way?
No.
No. What would happen, especially if it was okay for capital punishment for these sort of things?
They would talk to like a platoon leader. I don't know if that's the term anymore because it's been so long, which are your peers. And then I think you even have someone ahead of, not platoon.
Battalion.
No, smaller. It's like their section leaders equivalency. It would also be your peers. And I could see that type of conversation going on between them a little bit.
Wing leader is 3 steps above you.
Yeah.
Like, it is direct management.
Dain is also 1 year ahead of them.
Dain is their senior as far as, well, I think Imogen is also a 3rd year.
Yeah.
So I could see her seeing him more as a peer, but when it comes to Violet and Rhiannon, just everybody, nobody's treating Dain with any amount of respect.
Even when he's given his speech, they're like, oh, trying to be like Xaden up there. To the first years, they're just clueless. Like, in their world, Dain...
He is Xaden.
He is Xaden to them.
And why burst that bubble? Because to be fair, I think what...
They need a pep speech, just like they needed it in their first year.
And Xaden didn't do something because he was Xaden. Xaden gave those speeches because it was his job. Now it is Dain's job. The other wing leaders have a similar air of arrogance about them. It isn't particular to Xaden. Like, I know where they're coming from, where they're like, oh, just like Xaden. Well, I'm sure that whoever the wing leader was when Xaden first arrived, I'm sure Xaden somewhat emulated that person.
There was a moment when they're talking about, well, everyone respected Xaden because they were scared of him, except for Violet, right? What Dain is bringing to the table at the very least is not fear. Like, respect me because you respect me, not because you fear me.
Respect me because of the authoritative position I hold. In the same way that Melgren, to be fair, the way that Melgren is respected, it isn't because you're worried Melgren's going to beat your ass. It's because he is the top general.
But
we don't know of his vast combat power.
Dain was a bit of a twat to Xaden despite the authority differences between them. And this would always piss me off about Dain because he wants to be this good old rule follower, but then he would speak to Xaden in ways that he knows you would never speak to a wing leader that way.
This is my point. I was pissed at Dain for doing it. Now, I think it's okay to address the way others are behaving. And that same behavior that pissed me off with Dain is what's pissing me off with everybody else. Because Xaden would give an order, Dain would argue it, and Violet's like, he's my wing leader.
Yes.
I do this and that, blah, blah, blah. Now Dain is your fucking wing leader. Just listen. He's saying, hey, remember, don't get personal with them. Just give them a quick, what's your name? Good luck. That's what you're allowed to say.
She's like,
and she's
fuck
like,
you.
Fuck you. Yeah, that's exactly. She's like, fuck you. I do what I want. And I'm like, no, he has to tell you this. This is part of his job.
But Violet has really never respected any authority for anyone.
She did exactly what Xaden told her to do.
Yeah.
Even if she was pissed about it and thought it was going to kill her, she may have backtalked, but she did do it.
And she did do what Dain told her to do.
Nope, because then she gets into this thing with Mari.
Sloane. Yeah.
She gets into the thing with Sloane, and Dain is like, whoa, hold up. And she's like, shut the fuck up, Junior. I'm busy.
Wait, we're jumping ahead.
Yeah, we are. Sorry.
We got really
Dain's
excited for that.
Bitch. And everybody knows it.
Back to the end of chapter 4, Dain and Xaden are talking. They have their little pissing match, and obviously Dain loses. Chapter 5, we get an excerpt. Varys should be removed from duty due to prisoner deaths. That's why he's now teaching students, I guess. Yeah.
Come interrogate our kids. The Geneva Convention says you can't do it to enemies in war. The POWs are fallen. Bring them in for the kids.
Then it goes into the actual chapter. Violet and her friends, they're all hanging out. They're talking about they're changing their years from first year to second year, the privileges that they get. Their friends are harassing Violet and Xaden's relationship. Like, they can see whatever did happen, you guys are trauma bonded.
Yeah, butt stuff. That's what we're left to assume.
Yeah. Your relationship went up a notch since you've come back.
She begged Xaden and they all found out.
Heaton? He's not mentioned. Where the hell is Heaton at? Is Heaton a third year that's now a lieutenant?
Maybe. I think Heaton was a second year last year.
I don't know where Heaton's at. Heaton hung out all throughout Fourth Wing with them. They come back. We're 9 chapters in and we haven't had breakfast, lunch, or dinner or any hangout time with Heaton at all.
Summer?
No, it's the beginning of the year again.
Well, it's kind of like a spring.
We hear about Nadine, who we heard about a little bit in Fourth Wing, a very small amount, but now we're learning all about Nadine. She's talking.
Away characters.
Yeah, I think Nadine died at the end of this set of chapters too. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know where Heaton's at, but if they're a lieutenant, I hope that they have a good time, and I wish that I could hear what they're using their signet for.
That's the thing. I want to know if it's just like, we need somebody to do reconnaissance in the river. Maybe they were in the water the whole time, like when the dragons stopped to get drinks and stuff. They were just hanging out in ponds, just like observing things from the water. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Heaton wasn't invited on that adventure. Heaton's just now not invited.
He should not have been invited on that adventure. We're glad for that. That was a horrible adventure.
But why isn't Heaton being invited to breakfast? They didn't party with Heaton either.
Well, yeah. No, I've got nothing for that one.
I swear, if we go the rest of this book and Heaton isn't mentioned again...
Then we know in the next book Heaton's a main character.
Exactly.
Yes.
And there's going to be some underwater adventure.
Yes. The Venom have taken all the power from the ground, but where did they not get it from? The water. And there's Heaton, like Aqua Person, just emerging from the depths. Well, super rad.
I'm disappointed. We haven't heard about Heaton. Others start asking about their attack. They question the Griffin's skill. Love this. That was my biggest issue with the last book, that nobody questioned all these attacks until their attack. At the very least, at some point, people are thinking like, how the hell did you guys get killed? And I think it just gets explained away of inexperience is what it's left with.
And realistically, they should have said, actually, they're better trained than we are. It's not a death college. They just continue to improve until they're really good at things.
It turns out they're allowed to live and keep practicing.
They don't die on their first fuck up, so they're able to master things.
Then she's angry at Xaden, but still wants him as they're having this moment. I think she's
drunk.
Yeah, I think this is when they're partying. She's drunk. She's upset with Xaden. She's pissed. Garrett calls them out on it. He's just like, whatever the fuck you two got going on, can you sort it out? Because this is getting annoying.
Or just do it in your own time, for Christ.
Yeah, sort this out. They play this game of will they, won't they? Because he got his orders. He's going to be leaving. They're talking about, are they going to fuck? Are they not? She's like trying to tease him, I think, in order to get him to be honest and just share things. And then he's like, no. And she's like, well, then I'm going to fuck other people. He's like, no, you're not.
Do you remember that song? I'm leaving on a dragon. Know exactly when I'll be back again. It
was perfect for this whole scene. It was a little tense for that beat, but
I don't know what that song is. If you listen to those words, it's pretty tense of a song.
Is it a song actually about him
He's leaving? He doesn't know when he's going to come back again.
Because he's going to war?
Yeah, that's the idea, I think.
Oh, well.
I don't know if it's war, or it might have just meant maybe he's going to do a business deal overseas. But I think it's war, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then Varish is officially introduced to us.
Commandant.
I don't know their titles. I know last names.
Commandant's fun to say.
Commandant.
Phenomena. Commandant. A commandant. That's it.
Then Aetos threatens secrets die with people who keep them.
He brings up that he was nervous earlier in this. He admits that he was nervous.
Yeah, that's stood out to me.
Honestly, you guys had me a little nervous. And I'm like, oh, then you guys should have played that hand. And he's like, but then I remembered. Secrets are shitty leverage because if you die, the secret dies with you. And they're like, oh, fuck, we kind of forgot about that. And they can't just have an email on a timer because email doesn't exist. Wouldn't it be cool if their dragons just mind vibed their secrets to everybody?
Well, you're taking this a different direction than I was going. I was starting to feel sad about Violet's uncle, essentially, is the one who is...
That makes her crush on Dain weird. Don't call him an uncle.
Well, it explains why the crush didn't go anywhere, because she feels like it'd be weird and incestuous. And
she didn't feel that way until after the kiss. Everybody knows you kiss one of your cousins. If it's not weird, you fuck them. Dun, 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 dun. Sweet home Alabama.
Again, I was feeling sad, but
I'm here to help.
That he's the one putting this hit on her. And not Xaden. Well, maybe there is with Xaden. He's just quiet about it and not talking about it.
He knows that Xaden's not going to spread this because it behooves Xaden for it to be a secret. It does not behoove Violet for this to be a secret.
Okay, yeah. And he's demoted because of Violet, really. In the end, because of her relationship with her mom.
Yeah. Now, Varish answers to one person and one person only. How does that happen at this college?
He's contracted. I don't know.
Yeah. I find it interesting that somehow Varish only answers to Panchek. Panchek answers to whom?
Who's Panchek again in all of this?
I think it's Colonel Panchek. I think he's...
Below or beneath rank of Lilith?
Lilith is only below the guy who sees battles. Melgren, yeah. Other than that, Lilith is the second top of the food chain in the military.
Okay, because Panchek, he shows up at these first year events and we hear him say something and then
yeah, Panchek's a weirdo.
They get their orders. Violet will get 2 days of leave every 14 days and vice versa to stagger it. Taryn and Sigale are able to see each other every 3 days.
7, right? It's 2 days every 14 days. They will be 7 days apart. Yeah. So one of them, 14-day stretch from 14 days from now, Xaden can come back. 14 days from next week, Violet could go. So it's this rolling 14-day period for each with 7 days in between each one. And that's why it's brought up that Taryn and Sigale, we don't even know if they can make it 7 days. They know 3 days is possible. They don't know about 7.
I think later it ends up being Taryn just leaves without Violet. Is that right?
No.
At
Taryn
some point
does because Violet is unable to communicate with Taryn. And so Taryn's like, fuck it, I need help. So he gets close enough that he can mind vibe Sigale.
No, they changed their visitation later. So then Violet and Xaden don't get to see each other.
Oh.
At some point. And that's when I thought Taryn just leaves on his own without Violet because she's at school. And in some ways, if that ends up being what comes up next, I'm surprised it wasn't like that always.
Here's my thing. If the military thought that they could be apart 7 days, it ruined the justification for Violet going with Xaden to Athbyne. The whole justification for Violet going with Xaden to Athbyne is it could be 5 days, and our dragons can't be apart that long. Also, this isn't a mystery.
No,
everybody's waiting to find this stuff out.
This is a situation where the humans think that they have say over the Empyrean.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm saying they took Xaden's thing of Violet's coming with me for war games because the dragons couldn't be apart that long.
That was only a discussion between Dain and Xaden anyways. There wasn't anyone higher ranking involved in that.
I thought Aetos was in charge of all the war games.
Yeah, but they didn't need permission to take Violet with. You got to put your team together. It was only Dain who really threw a fit about it. And then he says, well, you're not upset about Liam going.
All right, fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took it differently.
Chapter 6, Violet loses her temper over this whole thing. And she leaves there and she's striking lightning around. And then the students are scared. And Xaden's putting up a shield of shadows to protect them from the rocks. And she's like, I'm sorry. She's like, oh my God, gotta keep it together.
Turns out she shouldn't be drinking until she has a much better command of her power.
I'm surprised she's allowed to go anywhere near the archives with this type of thing going on.
Violet should be allowed to go nowhere. I have one more little bone to pick while we're talking about dangerous and things and blah, 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 right? It's brought up that, fire didn't fuck up Xaden's house because it's stone. You know what happens if I take a torch to the concrete in our driveway?
It'll leave scorch marks?
No, it'll pop and explode because heat expands things, and stone and concrete, they have compressive strength. They don't have strength in any other ways, such as torsion, and concrete doesn't like expanding. Heat is also horrible for stone.
Correct, but you have a torch with consistent gas fueling it. A fire just existing outside on the ground will eventually go away, and I don't think it's going to hit temperatures that are going to explode the building.
I'm not saying it's going to explode the whole building. I'm saying you will destroy stone with a sustained flame.
Yeah, the dragons would have to be just sitting there cooking them for a little while, and that didn't happen.
Saying if your mission as a dragon is to destroy a place during wartime, you sit there for 5 seconds with some dragon fire on it, it's probably going to get hot enough that it really fucks up the stone. That's all I'm pointing out.
I think you're being pedantic about this.
Okay.
Get out of here. Taryn is pissed, and Darna is sassy. Everyone's just got an attitude. This is when things are just going downhill for the team.
You know what? That team. I like that our other core members are having a good time.
Like Rhiannon, she went up in rank.
Yeah, Rhiannon's having a great time.
I don't
Riddick's having a good time.
Imogen's not having a good time.
Imogen's never having a good time, which is why I like Imogen so much. Like, she is such an asshole. But she seems reluctant, but she has a great heart and a terrible personality. And I love it.
I like her.
I do too.
I enjoy her, but I can also see where later Rhiannon would and should be very jealous of Imogen with the information that Rhiannon has.
Oh, you mean as far as the friendship goes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know that your best friend doesn't like her and vice versa. They leave, come back, they lose someone, and now they're really close. That's confusing.
You think it's justifiable that she's jealous?
Yeah,
okay.
I would be jealous.
I'm not suggesting you're wrong. I was clarifying.
In chapter 6, it's really just kind of this goodbye moment between her and Xaden. They're in the middle of, what do you call that? They're at Biscayeth, this big open area.
No, I just want to call it the garden, but
yeah, let's call it the garden.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though there's just gravel everywhere, there's no flowers.
There's a fountain.
Yeah.
There's a dragon in the middle of it, spraying water out. And then Heaton's just there, playing in the fountain.
Heaton found out their signet because they got bullied in the fountain.
They got pushed in. They're like, I don't ever need to come up.
But they are giving this goodbye. And the fact that they can mind vibe with each other, this whole scene is completely pointless other than they're both in denial of their feelings. Well, Xaden doesn't seem to be in denial now. Violet is in denial of her feelings of Xaden. They go and give each other a hug for show. So then the other cadets aren't suspicious of the information he's about to share with her. And he whispers something about like, they're going to read all of our letters. They're going to be after you. Be careful and all these things. And it's all for show. And I'm like, wait a minute. You guys could have just been like standing across from each other, just mind vibing this information. But you both secretly really want this.
It reminds me of the song Rocket Man. Because he packed his bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hours, 9 a.m. would make sense if this was during the day. So I said it's 2100 hours, 9 p.m. And it's going to be high as a kite by then. Because he's going to be up in the sky.
Yeah, he's just flying, crying on his way, leaving her.
Like, and I think it's going to be a long, long time. He's just singing to himself as he steers his dragon. I don't know why he's steering the dragon. If you see my hands, it looks like I'm milking a cow. Just jacking off.
Oh, stop.
Sorry, I don't know why I got that way.
Well, Xaden is sad.
Oh,
Violet is secretly sad. She's like trying to not be sad, but she is sad. And then he's like, well, I better go or something like that. And she's like, yeah, you should. He's like, well, I can't because you're holding on to me. And she's like, get out of here. Scram.
Yeah.
And she tells him she does trust him with her life. And he's like, is that it? And she's like, yeah, nothing else. I trust you with nothing but my life.
Yeah.
Which is still kind of nice. I don't think it's as big of an insult as I think she intended it to be.
I would argue trusting somebody with your heart is less important than trusting them with your life. If we've learned anything, it's the heart can change. The life, you're either dead or you're not, but not in this book. Now that I think about it, you can come back to life at any moment. We don't know that yet, but we're about. Well, we kind of do, Brennan. Yeah.
That one's not coming back to life. That one's just a lie.
No, Naolin brought him back to life.
Oh.
That's why he burned out,
Oh.
according to the lore we're currently informed of.
Yeah, again, Brennan, please share some information. And Xaden, if Brennan told you, please tell Violet.
Xaden, share anything, really. We don't care. Brennan, share something pertinent, please.
At the end of chapter 6, we find out that Dain is the wing leader and Rhiannon is their squad leader.
And who's our, what is it called, section leader?
I don't remember.
I thought it was Sawyer.
That's right. I think it is Sawyer that is like a section leader, or he's something.
Yeah, I think he's section leader. Rhiannon's squad leader, and Dain is wing leader.
Right. Chapter 7, in the excerpt, we learn that all book requests must be documented or else. I'm pretty sure the one making the request and the one who didn't document it, they get killed. Is that right?
That's what we're led to believe. Yes.
Seems a little extreme for a library checkout,
But not at Bezgaiath. Everybody can be killed at any given time for almost no reason at all.
As a scribe, that is the only threat to your life, I believe, is not documenting when somebody requests.
I would think vitamin D being a major issue. They don't seem to get out much.
True.
And depending on their diet, I mean, it could be diabetes, heart disease. To be fair, if you're living your life as stressed out, I don't know. Perhaps one of them starts to go blind. What good is a blind scribe? You got to really take care of your eyes, and you're in candlelight.
There is a use for someone of all abilities in the scribe quadrant. As the chapter continues, we learn Nolan is exhausted and it's difficult to get scheduled in for mending. A little foreshadowing there. That always stood out to me. I think when we first read it, I thought that Nolan was mending a venom, which, yeah, but not this specific case. Like they actually captured somebody. I don't know.
How would you get him in there, too? We're led to believe that the way they move from area to area is usually tight stairwells and, you know what I mean? Passages into places. Like if you're trying to sneak a venom in there, it seems like it would be difficult. There's people everywhere.
I don't know. Maybe there's somebody like Rhiannon higher up that can move someone from location to location.
Ooh, potentially. Or they just have like body bags that have ruins on them. They're like, it keeps him floating in there.
We meet Professor Grady. This is his first year teaching. He has an unknown signet. I tried looking this up to figure it out. We don't know in this book at all.
I like that name. We had a cat named Grady growing up.
I like his energy that he brings to the classroom.
Yeah, where he's just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. Let's have a good time. I hope he doesn't turn out to be a bad guy.
He seems more clueless of how the hell I get here. He's like, I never saw myself here kind of thing.
Yeah, and Devera seems like, yeah, I know. Devera's like, yeah, this guy sucks.
No, I think they're two different classes. Devera isn't in this with him.
Oh, which one is Devera in there with?
She's in the battle brief with Markham, and Markham slips up, and she calls him out on it. I think that's the moment you're thinking
Grady, yes.
No, it was Markham, and it was weird, and I kept replaying it, trying to figure out what was going on in that scene where she called him out on it, but I think that's in the next chapter.
How many chapters are we into this now?
We're on chapter 7.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah. Oh, Professor Grady is the writer survival course teacher.
Yeah, and he wrote the book. No, never mind. Markham wrote Field Guide to Dragonkind. Doesn't matter. I won't remember which one wrote that.
It was someone else. It wasn't
Colonel
Markham.
Kaori's
That's
Field Guide to Dragonkind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this course is to learn how to survive without your dragon and interrogation. And this is a class that has been kept secret.
Yeah, from everybody, right? And they're like, oh, you guys haven't heard of this class. Good. Then our system of secrets works. And nobody's like, what the fuck else are you guys keeping secret? And how is nobody briefing anybody on this? They all have siblings. Generally, there are siblings involved.
I don't think Brennan even wrote about this.
That's
or if he does, it's a single line, and he's just like, good luck, sis.
They're going to torture you. Heh.
Well, the type of torture that she goes through is
different.
Nothing compared to what the other students go through.
that's the opposite. The type of torture the other students are going to go through is nothing compared to what she's going to go through.
Yeah, true. That's a better way of putting it.
I'm here to help.
Violet disregards Xaden's advice, and I even think Bodhi's advice. Don't get involved with what we're doing. Violet's like, yeah, I'm going to get involved, but I'm going to the archives to go check out books and start reading books and learning more about this. And she waits until Jacinia is on the schedule to go make a request. Do you remember if this request even was documented? Or was this one documented and future ones are not?
So, I don't remember. I know at some point Jacinia becomes aware of whatever Violet's looking into being not a good deal.
I think this is it.
And she's like, oh, we're going to keep this one off the books. But Jacinia is also in training to become a super scribe.
And very close with Markham. Jacinia is in the role that Violet saw herself to be in.
Yeah. Do you think Jacinia sometimes is glad Violet didn't show up? She's like, oh, thank God Violet's not here so I can do this. Otherwise, what's Jacinia going to do?
I don't think so. I think she seems like the type that wants what's best for Violet and is sad that
Jacinia seems perfect. You're right.
Oh my God, is that a sign?
Stop. No, nothing bad happens to her. Everything has been faithfully transcribed by the curator of the Scribe Quadrant, Jacinia Nilwart.
Exactly.
Yes.
And yeah, chapter 7 ends with she receives 2 books from Jacinia, but they're only a couple hundred years old.
Yeah. Do you think they use dragon leather for a binder in these books?
No. There really isn't dragon leather. There's dragon scales that we learn about with Violet's armor.
There would be dragon leather. They're calling it scales. And the scales for her armor are different because it's individual scales of her shed. It's like brushing your dog and you get dog hair. You don't expect to get dog leather brushing your dog. You know what I'm saying? But like whenever a dragon's gunned down, like do we sometimes be like, hey, this would be very useful. And there's a lot of leather there.
Where are they getting all the leather from? What animal?
Well, there must be cows and things. They eat things that aren't dragons. They don't, like, they ride horses, we're left to assume. We know there are sheep. If everything is sheep's, honestly, that would be very soft leather. I had a pair of sheep leather gloves. They're sheep leather. It's so soft.
That's not very good for combat, though.
Well, it would be for mobility. Like,
yeah,
regularly, leather is kind of hard to move in. Sheep's leather is so fine-grained.
Yeah.
That it's very lovely. I like sheep's leather. Sorry.
I have a sneaking suspicion we're not going to learn more about that in this series.
I think at some point we're going to get into dragon leather. Somebody's going to get a pair of boots. They're going to be new boot goofing. I'm like, genuine dragon leather. 3 payments. And they're just, what are you doing? Just dragon boot goofing.
Dragon boot goofing.
Oh, finally. Christ, I felt like I had to peel that laugh out of you. Worth it.
Chapter 8, this is now conscription day, where all of the first years are showing up. They're getting all prepped and ready in their new roles and whatnot. We already kind of talked about Dain being pushed aside a little bit.
I have a question about this before we go further. I don't remember if we discussed this in the first book, but riders are all conscripted? Is that right?
Well, you don't take a test. No, you do take a test. You take some type of test to be able to begin. Anyone who crosses the parapet is conscripted.
But doesn't conscription mean that you are forced?
No, I don't know. Does
Google what conscription means? Because I could be totally wrong. I thought it would be kind of like when you take your ASVAB. If you did so well on it in these areas, they're like, that's it. You're going to be a dragon rider.
It's just compulsory enlistment.
That's what I thought.
Oh. This one says a law that says if you're able to fight, you have to fight.
Right. Like a draft is conscripted combat. Conscript.
I think if you pass the parapet, you are forced to continue.
Okay. See, and I thought they were conscripted to even attempt that. Because if you didn't pass the parapet, how would you...
Only the marked ones are forced to cross and continue on. Everyone else is volunteered to take the test and to cross the parapet. As soon as you cross the parapet, you are forced to continue on this journey, essentially. And Dain even says this to Auric later. Once you cross, there is no going back.
What a cool thing for Dain to say after he spent the first half of the last book getting Violet out of it.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to find a way to work around this.
I wanted you to make that note for me because I'm like, oh, how cool, because he found 4 different ways to get Violet out of it. And then he's like, but the prince of our nation, if he crosses this bridge, that's it. There's no way he's getting out of here. I'm like, I think you could have convinced Markham to let the prince into the scribe quadrant too, actually.
Yeah. No rule bending for anyone but Violet is what we get from this.
The irony of it coming from Dain, though.
Yeah. Oh, this is the word I was looking for earlier. Dain looks heartbroken. That's what it was. And she's like, why the fuck do you look heartbroken? And he hasn't talked to Violet yet. And her task on this is to take final roll call.
He says, everybody got a job. Somebody's like, I don't have a fucking job. He's like, well, then you can. And they're like, fuck off. I don't want a job. And I'm like, oh, perfect.
Xaden left 3 books for Violet about weaving fabric into traditional Tirish knots, with a note that says, even when I'm not with you, there is only you.
And if it's woman's work, I need these knots. I'm teasing.
I don't think she actually puts an effort into reading any of these books until later when she sees Kat doing this and she's like, what the fuck? I want to do this.
So, I have a question about this. Do you think that the Tirish knots help you as far as weaving runes? If it's meant to be like hey, this will help you understand how these runes work. Because they talk about weaving runes and wards. Those are 2 things that need weaved as well.
Yeah, I don't remember much about this. I think it also had to do with getting to know Xaden more. By learning about these things, you can learn more about Xaden when he's not there.
Culturally, it's part of his thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I initially took it. But then I'm like, what an oddly selfish thing to leave her with is chores. When this is done, like, she can be doing other things to help survival.
According to him, she's not supposed to be helping in any way with this. What is it? He doesn't call it a rebellion. He calls the revolution. She's not supposed to be helping with this, so he's assuming she's not reading other books right now.
Yeah, but he could assume that she's like strengthening her body, practicing her power, things to help keep her alive.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm assuming that these books on how to weave Tirish knots actually has a practical application. I think he's Mr. Miyagi in her a little bit.
I think it's later. Yes, he is doing that.
That's
where it does have a purpose, but it's later. It's also to get to know him, his culture, his world, and they are also a useful tool, I believe, later. As she is there taking, I don't know what exactly she's doing, because she's not doing the roll call at the beginning. I thought she was doing the final one.
No, she's doing the last one before they cross the parapet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We meet Auric Greycastle. This is King Towery's son, a.k.a. Cam. He's now changed his name.
A.k.a. the independent variable. A.k.a. Mr. Green Eyes.
They have their whole discussion. He's moving forward in all of this. I really like him and his character, but we don't get to hear much from him at this time. Then we meet Sloane. Violet gives her the same advice that Mira gave her, and Sloane blames Violet for Liam's death because she knew he was protecting Violet. And Sloane makes it over the parapet.
This reminds me of the way that Violet informed Rhiannon that Liam died was to give her the letters and said, don't let him burn these.
Oh, that was how she did that.
Yeah, like before anything was confirmed, she's like, oh, is everybody okay? And Violet's like, actually take these and don't let anybody commend him to Malik. And then Sloane, the reason why this reminds me of the whole thing too is Sloane says the coldest shit to Violet, and it is awesome. Again, creative teenager bitchiness.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I hope that you're miserable, and I hope you die miserably, and I hope nobody commends your soul to Malik. I hope if they try, he refuses it because he fucking hates you and thinks you're as big a piece of shit as I do. Like, it's just this over-the-top hatred that is so boiling.
Like, she was practicing this in the mirror for the day that she knew she was going to see Violet when she got there.
Oh, it's awesome.
Violet talks to Sloane as if she is just ages older than her, just years and years of wisdom over her. And it's only 1 year. Someone being 1 year older than you, yes, she did make it through. She has gone through all of this as a second year. But no one talks to Violet, just being now a third year, none of them talk to Violet the way that Violet is talking to Sloane. Almost sisterly, like Mira was. And I think that's all intentional, completely. But at the same time, from Sloane's perspective, you have this girl who you're pissed at talking to you as if they're just so much older and wiser than you.
Yeah, Violet clearly has more of an affinity for Sloane than anybody had for her coming up through the quadrant. I also think that, oh shit, what's her name? It's kind of the mean one that we like.
Imogen.
Imogen later sort of addresses this. She's like, hey, don't get attached to any of the first years, right? She's like, you don't know if they're going to be here or not. So just fucking ignore them, blah, blah, blah. I think that kind of explains a lot of the second year's attitudes toward the first years, where they're like, oh, there's no point in getting attached. These motherfuckers could die. Up until threshing, you don't give a shit about them.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. And then Violet doesn't follow that same attitude with Sloane.
Which is fair, because Violet made a promise not to. But here's the thing.
Yep.
Violet is also like, I told your fucking brother I would take care of you and watch out for you. It's a tough spot. I don't think there would be a way to cure this, and I wonder how much of Imogen's letters that went to Sloane, because Imogen and Sloane are tight, right?
Yes.
How
and I
much of
like
that-
the animosity that Violet even kind of has with it.
Yeah, she's jealous of it. But then also, I love the Violet address. She's like, Imogen, why were you talking shit? And she's like, oh, I can explain. It's because I didn't fucking like you. It's easily my favorite Imogen line, where she acts like there's going to be this big, broad thing. It's like, oh, I just didn't fucking like you. Her honesty is amazing.
Yes. So Sloane makes it across. Dain moves Sloane to fourth wing without being asked. And Violet's just like, oh, is this some type of apology? And he's just like, I'm fucking trying over here.
Yeah, this is my thing. I think Dain is still a shitbird, but Dain is making all the right moves here. He's not saying, oh, should I do this? He's not waiting to be asked. He's trying to figure out what it is she wants and needs and is trying to provide that for her.
He's spending every day earning her trust back.
Yeah, he's really following through on Xaden's promise.
I'm just kidding. I hate Dain, but he does need these redeeming moments to lead up to what he does later for you to question what his decision is, but also understand, okay, yeah, you would make this decision. That makes sense. And we first meet Varish's orange one-eyed dragon in this scene when they're all lined up. They've rearranged. All the first years are where they need to go. Taryn finds out.
Do you remember which dragons are there?
I don't know who's
Only
are there.
the wing leader's dragons show up to this. Urchup and Varish's dragon. Solus and the wing leader's dragons. And that makes sense why last year she comments on this big blue dragon. It was Sigale, and
Yep.
Sigale was there because Xaden's a wing leader.
Yeah, well, this orange dragon is a dick. Taryn finds out, and I like how he's like, don't take your eyes off of him, and he keeps her in check over it. He's like, look at him, because he's using Violet in this moment to watch him and keep an eye as he's going there. That would be so... It's really impressive that Taryn not only can just do this, but he is flying to a location while watching Solus.
Do you think he's looking through her eyes, or he is keeping her watching him so that he can sense her feelings as he's, you know what I mean, as that dragon's shifting and blah, blah, blah?
I took it very literally. I don't even think they say that he is watching through her eyes, but when she looks away, he notices.
Well, and it's brought up that he can feel her unrest with that dragon.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, let's get into this part. Everybody made it across the parapet that was supposed to. There's a Jack Barlow Jr. guy who's also an asshole. Now, they're here. They're all gathered. They're in formation.
Yeah.
Varish is like, hey, this fucking place went soft since I was here. Not anymore, motherfuckers. Now I run this joint.
Why we're trusting the guy that has killed prisoners, I don't know, but...
Yeah, he's like, even the prisoners are too soft. I'm going over to their place next. Like,
Then someone runs away. I think multiple people run away.
couple, yeah.
Yeah, they run away. Solus torches them as he also takes out third squad of fourth wing.
Violet brings up the other dragons aren't going to attack them, right? Like what happened last year. these people get further because Solus is specifically wanting them to feel the hope that they might escape, and then torches them.
Which is so fucked up. And there is a quick pass at it might have been intentional that he took out Third Squad.
Yeah, that he took out bonded riders even.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, he was going to take out Violet and them also.
Yeah.
But Violet got down and protected Sloane.
Oh, okay. I bet now I feel silly that I'm just realizing this now. I bet it was to take out Violet because of Terran, and Terran knew this, but because she ducked, all he got, and she warned him, all he got was Third Squad.
Yep.
It wasn't intentional to get Third Squad. It was intentional to get Violet. They all duck, therefore only Third Squad.
That is what I got from this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I am just putting this together
you're
now.
right. No, I'm agreeing. Terran says the most Billy badass shit. Are we there?
Yes, we are there.
Yes.
Terran shows up and the walls crumble beneath his feet when he lands, and he just destroys the area. Solus isn't scared. He doesn't cower. He doesn't move. He stands his ground, which
Solus
is
is crazy.
a complete psycho.
Complete nutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just holds his ground the whole time that Terran is in his face. And in some ways, it shows how well Solus knows Terran, that he knows Terran isn't going to do shit to him. He's not going to kill him. He's not going to hurt him because of whatever reason. I do think that Terran would, but at the same time, Solus knows him well enough that he's not going to kill me, because it's almost like he sees it as Terran's weakness.
100%. And Varish makes eye contact with Violet momentarily. And then is like, everybody back in formation, don't be a fucking tool. And he's like, Dragon Riders don't balk at fire. Violet's like, the fuck we don't. Like, those that didn't balk got burned up. The fuck is he talking about? And then Terran is like, what does Terran say? I need the direct quote. It is so awesome.
He says, you do not have the right to burn what is mine. Solus retreats. And Terran says to Violet, if Solus comes near you again, he knows I will devour his human whole and will let him rot within me while his heart still beats, and then I'll take his eye I so graciously left him.
Yeah. So also we should note Solus is missing an eye.
Yes.
Scarred the fuck up because Terran at some point already taken one of them.
And we don't learn in this book why.
Oh, but we're going to. Here's my thing. Later on, I have a qualm with this, and it's going to get brought up again later, when Violet is unable to communicate with Terran for a week, right? It's like 5 days. Why doesn't Terran just go fucking murder Solus right then?
I'm assuming for information. Solus went into hiding. Never mind. That's what happened. Solus did get scared, actually.
Okay. All right. That one's fair.
Yeah, he did actually believe, like, oh, fuck, this one, Violet might be dead. I don't think Solus really knew. And so he's like, oh, Terran will get me for this one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fair enough.
What if it had to do with Dain? And no, the last one, the missing eye.
I think it's totally possible. I'm excited to learn more. But can we agree that's the most badass line uttered in either of these books?
Amazing. Amazing.
I will devour him while his heart still beats. Like, you're like, what the fuck? Awesome. Here's the thing. Also, if you're Violet in this, I'm not going to lie, I'm breaking formation because also I've got the biggest Billy Badass dragon in the world right now, other than one other one that he's a long ways away. We're not worried about him right now. And I'm coming up to Varish and I'm be like, hey, real cute what the fuck your dragon just did. I will fucking murder you if some shit like that ever happens again. Because you don't care about chain of command anymore. You might as well be like, if I don't cook you with lightning, that motherfucker's going to eat that motherfucker. Like, that's all there is to it. I would lose my fucking mind. This is an area where Violet is so much more mature than she has any right to be.
Yeah, because she just kind of takes a moment and checks on everyone. Oh, is this when Nadine dies?
Not yet. Nadine dies at the end of these chapters. She dies pretending to be fine.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is the last note that I have. Never mind. We do lose some people, and she is sad about it, but I'm pretty sure they're names that I don't recognize.
And this is a different Violet. I'm going to point this out at this moment because this is when it's the most obvious. It's really a different Violet than we had in the other book, right? Violet has changed and Darna has changed. The only consistent one we have right now is Terran.
Yeah.
Xaden's going to be very back and forth in this book.
Well, and that makes sense because he's now switching from being in school to actually being in war.
He was a big fish in a little pond, and now he's a reasonable sized fish in a large pond.
Yeah. Chapter 9, the excerpt is about green dragons offering... Oh, it was green dragons this whole time, not the red dragons. Oops. Well, it doesn't matter. Green dragons offered their hatching grounds for all dragons, and the first 6 put up the wards in Navarre.
Yes. Which, who was this? Who recorded this?
I don't remember who recorded this.
Okay, we'll go back into that later.
Okay.
This is the guy that is full of shit.
Oh, Markham.
Well, I don't know. I think it's before that. It's a guy from several hundred years ago. But yeah, he was full of shit, leading people astray.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't pay attention to the names in the excerpts like I probably should.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to point out. What does Xaden say about making a good lie?
Use some truth?
Yes. So, just in this, the first 6 put up the wards in Navarre. That is technically true. 6 people put up wards in Navarre.
But he doesn't mention 7 dragons.
He doesn't mention a 7th person, and he doesn't mention the other ward.
No, he doesn't.
So, grains of truth, but omission of shit.
Chapter 9 continues on with Imogen inviting herself to run with Violet. Is Imogen doing this to protect Violet based off of what Xaden is saying, or is Imogen also wanting to do this for her own benefit because she also is struggling after what just happened to them in Athbyne?
Imogen still needs Violet to be as strong as she can possibly be so that Violet doesn't die, Taryn doesn't die, and Sigale doesn't get sad and possibly die. Violet's life is still linked to Xaden's life, and even if she doesn't value Violet to the degree that I would assume she does kind of at this point, but she's a little wishy-washy.
That makes sense that would be Imogen's motivation to do this with her. But this is also when, we've already talked about this a little bit, where Rhiannon is like, what the hell are you two doing? Not only up this early, but running. I don't even think Violet lies or tells the truth or a half-truth. I think Violet just sits in the awkwardness of like, nah, yeah, this is just what we're going to do.
Well, so she's like, hey, I want to get stronger, right? I need to get this figured out. And then Rhiannon's like, but why do you need to?
Why running?
Yeah. But why male models?
Yeah.
Right? And Violet's just like, I can't come up with anything. This is where Violet is intelligent and not witty. Violet's ability to think on the spot is not shown to be real quick in this moment. Because whether or not you were going to lie, you could even say a truth. Like, I need to be in better shape. We were in fucking active war zone a while ago and I almost died.
This is a moment that I related the most to Violet because in that situation, I wouldn't know what to say. Could you imagine, Ryan? I'm just running early one morning on your way to work and expect me to come up with a reasonable excuse? I would have nothing to explain.
I would say sometimes you are not even attempting to lie. Sometimes you will just not have an answer for things that you are doing, and you already come off so suspicious. Like, you're the most suspicious human who is never up to anything nefarious. I trust you so implicitly, not because you're not good at lying, but because you're always so goddamn suspicious and it's never an issue.
I think a lot of that has to do with my head is somewhere else, and I didn't expect to have to talk about what I'm thinking about in the moment. Like, what was I talking about? Oh, goodness. Okay, that's what I was thinking about, but how do I explain it? And then this whole time, this whole thought process is happening. You're sitting there just waiting, and I'm looking shifty. I'm like, I just want to tell you about the weird dream that I had and what I'm thinking about.
It's really funny because when I hear Violet do this, I don't relate it to you, but I can see where you would.
Yeah.
This way. Because in general, I'm just like, honestly, I would just say like, hey, we were in a war zone. Some people that were really good fighters died. The least I can do is become a better fighter. We're not done fighting just because we're in the second year. I got shit to do.
I feel like every part of my life in these awkward situations is hindsight is 20/20. And I'd be like, well, this is what I would say. But what's done is done. I guess we're moving on. Because I think another good answer is you just found out you've all been thrown in a class that none of you knew about, RCS, and it's about surviving without your dragons.
Fair point. Also, on a side note, you brought up how hindsight's 20/20, and I think that's completely fair. I don't believe that I see this as objectively as you do in that sense. I think in general, my expectation is they would be better than realistic. Because you're right. I could probably get caught off guard by this too. Just in my head, I think I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's not accurate.
Yeah. Overall, it's super awkward going on between them. I already pointed out that if I was Rhiannon, I would be very jealous of Imogen and seeing this. The way that Violet answered all of these questions that Rhiannon had, and it's just kind of like pushed aside. They go into battle brief, and Rhiannon points it out kind of again, and this was much better, where Violet had some time to think about it, and she answers it. And Rhiannon points out that she thought it was her, and that is what's going on. And they worked that out at least, but still very awkward. Professor De Vera went into service at some point and is all scarred up. Do you think that she is scarred up from a Griffin flyer, like she said, or from a Venom?
Oh, a Venom. 100%. Also, Professor De Vera is kind of involved in the movement, right?
Yes. I also thought a Venom or Wyvern or whatever is the reason that she is scarred. And it seems to be the attitude that De Vera has towards Markham now would allude to De Vera questioning everything that Markham is now doing, because she's just like, I just saw some shit. I've seen all the letters and reports that Markham is bringing back, and none of them mention this. And she's questioning everything now.
I think she was aware of it before, and that's why her point in the class was to get everybody to think independently. And I would say what she sees Markham doing now is giving them the answers, more or less telling them how to think. And that's why she's like, we normally don't give them the answers. We normally allow this to be a discussion.
I wondered about that.
That's what
I couldn't figure out what that scene was about and what was trying to be conveyed. That would make sense that she's just like, we don't tell people what it is. We let them figure it out.
Yes. And I think it's part of her thing of wanting them to think independently.
That makes sense. So that whole scene happens. Taryn gets pissy. Well, not gets pissy. He just is pissy. And he's testing out Violet's shields.
Constantly.
And
I don't even think it's pissy. I think he's doing exactly what Xaden should have been doing.
Yes, but Taryn has been without Sigale for a little while, and that's why he's crabby. Xaden and Sigale were supposed to be back, and they're not.
A little much retention going on there.
Yeah.
He's horned up and to move.
I also think that he just misses his intimacy with his
I think both
girlfriend.
Are true. I think he definitely wants to cuddle, but I also think that her scales are blue and so are his balls. You know what I'm saying?
Then the rest of the chapter kind of ends with Rhiannon being suspicious of the healer quadrant because of what's going on with getting people in. It seems a little odd what's going on over there. Oh, and this is actually the moment when Rhiannon and Violet work things out. They go into their sparring. Nadine makes a joke as posing as Violet and gets murdered.
No, somebody's like, blah, 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 Violet. And the dude who is like Barlow Jr. is like, Violet Soaringale? Are you Violet Soaringale? And Nadine's like, I'm Violet Soaringale. See my hair? And he just whoosh, breaks her neck.
Immediately
breaks her neck. And how is this dude not immediately murdered?
Who's teaching that class?
I don't know anymore. I used to think it was hand-to-hand combat training.
Professor Emeterio teaches that class. What is his signet again?
Emeterio's not the guy that can do the fucking shadow puppets, right? What was that guy's name? Oh, that was Markham.
No, that's Kaori. Markham doesn't have a power because he's a scribe.
You're right. Damn it.
I'm not finding anything about his signet. The reason I wanted to look up what his signet was to see, can he handle these situations other than his strength as an individual? Can he handle students trying to kill each other?
Well, here's the thing. Ultimately, I think just his ability to do hand-to-hand combat. And if that isn't good enough, there are plenty of other people there with signets that could handle this.
It's an unknown signet for Emeterio, so we don't know what he can do.
Yeah, well, I'm going to guess it's not foresight.
Well, and even when Violet was fighting Barlow, he was just like, stop it, Barlow, type of thing. And we were like, what do you mean? If you're pushing any boundaries, that match should be done. And that individual who used their signet during a fight is just immediately forfeited.
Well, here's my thing, too. Number one, we treat every cadet as though they are disposable, except for in this room. In this room, we act like they're not disposable except for to each other. The second thing is, what the fuck is the point of having anybody in there if you're not going to enforce any rules? If you're just putting up signs to say who's fighting who, you could post that shit on a bulletin board. You're not refereeing anything.
No, he's really not. Because when they don't follow the rules, they don't do anything about it.
He's not teaching them anything. They have to do that in their spare time.
Oh, you're right.
He is useless in this room. And also, again, the dude who comes up and breaks her neck real quick. How is nobody noticing this dude move over there and then grab her face? Like, his gift must be super speed, right? He doesn't have a gift yet. He's not bonded.
No, I don't think it was like that. I think he was just really nearby. Yeah, he came up to the group of friends, and I assume that Violet was very close too, and Nadine was just cracking a joke, and then she got her neck cracked.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is, if we're among a group of friends and you make a joke and somebody starts to get near enough to you to grab your neck,
I think they're in shock of the situation. No one would foresee that happening, so the movements would be more startling.
I agree, it would be startling. Oh, and maybe this is coming from a different angle. So when you and I used to go to bars, right? I would say I would notice people's body language and put myself between you and other people sometimes, even though it's not like they were coming up to break your neck, more so as, oh, this person is moving in a way that I don't expect them to move, or I don't appreciate the risk they would pose being there. And granted, I see where Violet's not like, I better defend Nadine.
I think because he asked the question of like, which one of you are Violet Soaringale?
That wouldn't put you on edge a little bit? Violet's not beloved. Everybody fucking hates Violet other than this group of people.
I guess.
I think I would look at that as, that immediately is a red flag. We got a new person who's like, which one of you is Violet Soaringale? And they're looking at you like the goddamn Terminator. I'm not letting them take another step and reach. We're fucking putting that cowboy down and then asking like, oh, sorry, we're a little jumpy around here.
I think given Nadine's reaction to it, it wasn't as shifty as you're perceiving it. I'm not disagreeing with you.
He managed to break her neck. It was shifty. I'm so sorry.
But she felt comfortable enough to crack a joke.
Yeah, and then he felt comfortable enough to crack a neck, and that's my problem. I'm not saying that there wasn't levity in the room. I'm saying regardless of how fun everything is, you're at a place where people are constantly being murdered. How is nobody slightly more on edge?
I don't know.
Especially when you saw this dude toss a rando off a parapet. Like, you know this dude is like Jack Barlow Jr.
Oh, was that the same guy?
Yeah, well, at least that's my impression of it. We can go back through and read.
I think there's a few of them in there because there's a bunch of assassins hidden throughout the ranks.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. But remember how worried we were about assassins when Xaden was still there protecting her? And everybody's like, well, all the assassins are probably graduated or dead now, right? What the fuck?
It's a death college. We're used to it by now.
Yeah, maybe we should expect somebody to try to cause death here.
I don't know.
All I'm saying is I'm disappointed in our group of people who didn't defend Nadine. She was going to be a star character. Now she's gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, she was invited to breakfast and lunch every day.
It's more than Heaton.
Where the hell is Heaton?
Where the hell is Heaton? Good book, though.
It is. I'm enjoying it.
Me too.
I'm getting heated over Xaden, though. Not in a good way.
A different sort of heat.
Yeah. First time, that other
Your loins were warm. This time, I didn't have another thing for loins. I was going to try to pick something else, and I did.
I don't know.
Loins is a gross.
I'm looking forward to when they work things out and he solves his bullshit with the omitting. Maybe not omitting, not sharing everything.
Do you think when he becomes a Venom, he'll become more honest?
He's
like, what the fuck do I have to hide now? Or do you think he still maintains a certain distance where he's like, I better not tell her about all my Venom secrets now.
Like,
just gets new secrets.
If we find out a big secret, like him and her mom's secret or his other signet secret in Onyx Storm, I'm going to be pissed again because Xaden, we had a whole book to work through this.
What if we get a weird secret from Violet?
Oh, that even we don't know about.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I find Venom very attractive.
It turns out.
Venom are sexy. They got that smoky eye.
The pale skin.
Oh, are they all pale?
I don't know. I just assume that they're kind of pale and straggly hair.
Oh my God.
You're giving up your soul.
You think his soul is what makes you beautiful?
Yes, a beautiful soul.
You have a beautiful soul and a hideous body. I still love you, Xaden. Imagine he gets all string beanie, though. Like he loses his muscles.
No, it's got to be something about the motive behind him choosing to do that.
Yes.
Like the motive for just getting power versus the motive to protect others.
I was corrected also in that where I said the entire motivation is power. I was corrected. Incorrectly, it turns out, even if your motivation is to protect others, you're requiring power to protect others. And I'm not saying they're wrong, actually. I did say that, but I am wrong now about saying I wasn't wrong before.
I'm just wondering if it's like a vampire situation, vampires that eat human blood versus ones that go after animals because they can't bring themselves to do it.
Oh, vegetarian vampires.
Yeah, kind of like that.
I took it as a nuclear bomb situation.
Oh.
Right? So we developed the nuclear bomb as a method of protecting people, really. Right?
Oh, wow.
Because we looked at, this many people are dying versus if we could just cook everybody that's not on our side, our people would stop dying. So we developed this crazy bomb. We drop a couple of them. Then what happens? The rest of the world is like, oh shit, we need to figure out how to make these too. Otherwise, nobody can talk to these people, right? They're too threatening. Xaden is kind of like that, where he's like, hey, I want to protect people. He develops a nuclear bomb by becoming Venom, right? The problem is Venom also already exists. So I think we're going to get kind of a Cold War thing, like when Russia got nukes. And then we're both like, hey, be careful or we'll get you. And then they're like, no, we'll get you back. And we're like, we'll fuck up the whole world. And they're like, we'll fuck up the whole world first. And everybody's fingers are hovering over the buttons for a few years. That's what I think is kind of happening with the Venom situation here.
It's a very detailed analogy.
That only loosely translates. Anyway, nuclear Xaden. That would be so cool. If somebody had a signet where it was just nuclear energy. Oh, we have lightning. Oh yeah, well I have radiation. Shakes their hand. You're not going to even know that you got until a couple years later when cancer is developed.
That is so messed up.
The healers are like, we can't keep him healthy. His cells are mutating.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, we need to read our
End
next
this.
chapter.
We need to end this.
We need to read our next chapters.
Fair enough.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie. It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddy's Podcast.
And then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.